well, she moved in with them. And I spent weekends up here.
Family was.
Sure enough, they do it.
Parents always. I owed them a lot.
Too old.
All right. Do we have the recording on yet?
We do?
Okay. 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting. Regular board meeting, we'll have Valley Sanitary District. Into order. 2449 request. Jack on. Do we want to let him in? He should have to wait.
He shows up on, and yes.
We need a motion for that.
Second.
Roll, Allison.
Calling roll. We don't have any actual requests,
Okay.
so we don't really need a motion or any. roll call.
Okay, so we can just let Jack in.
You'll have to address that when he actually addresses the board if he shows up. I'll have to state his AB 2449 reasoning for
Okay. Get through it. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Director Martinson,
Here.
Director Pintosh,
Here.
Director Byrd,
Here.
Director Philippi,
Here.
Director Ulrich, Chair Stone.
Here.
And then as stated, Director Curtis is absent.
We stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
And to the republic, which is one nation. Indivisible. Justice for all.
Got my phone. Hang on.
Do we have any additions or amendments to the agenda? Public concerns.
There's one person that's part of the public on right now.
Michael?
Yep.
Michael, would you like to take 3 minutes to address the board?
You're on mute if.
I have logged in on Michael's behalf. He's not here yet. So we're good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're at a point in the meeting where we've got public comments. Everything?
I've seen that face before.
Okay. That we'll move on to consent items. Item 6 and 7. For the minutes.
I have a couple questions. On item 6, the approval of minutes for September 23rd. Wondering, there's mention there of the employee satisfaction survey ad hoc committee. Did it meet in October? Anything to report? There was nothing in the minutes, of course.
We will have a slight report when it comes to committee reports in this meeting.
Great, okay. I have a couple questions on item 7, disbursements. On page 25, check 70629 to Henry Land Surveying. Being surveyed.
The Tico Road site for the ADA accessibility project.
Oh, I didn't think of that as surveying. Yeah, okay, super. Next page, the check to Nossaman seems like a lot for 1 month, or is that 1 month?
It is 1 month, and they're working on several legal matters for us pertaining to the 2023 spills and the report. So they've been working directly with Biz and our collection system to do the appropriate required reporting and sort of finalize that matter with the regional board.
Okay. Page 29, a check to the wharf. What's the wharf?
The wharf is the store in Ventura. They sell a variety of work. We have an account here because our field.
I've seen Red Wing boots list
Yeah,
before.
so we have open accounts at a couple actually 3 different stores within the county. The Boot Barn, the Wharf, and actual unit itself. And we build anytime one of our employees goes and purchases work boots, we will pay the first $225 annually. You'll see those occasionally depending on where they chose to get their boots from.
Okay, finally, I wanted to compliment staff on making clear explanation of the credit card. That's very helpful to know. As it used to be, I didn't even know there was a credit card. Should have figured there was. It's nice to see how clearly the money's been spent. Thank you. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any items any other directors would like? This. I would entertain a motion.
Move approval of items 6 and 7.
Second, Allison, would you call the roll, please?
Director Martinson?
Yes.
Director Kentosh?
Yes.
Director Burr?
Yes.
Director Pelosi?
Yes.
Director Ulrich? And Chair Stone.
Yes. Okay, now I think I would like to take this out of order, move item 8. For item 15. Information items for receipt.
Motion for that?
No. Go through this if anybody has anything they'd like to pull out of here.
I have some questions on item 11.
Might be appropriate now.
Yeah. We're at 9, 10, and 11, right?
Yes.
Page 43, I wanted to thank you again, staff, for making it clear what we have in the terms of fenced reserves and I'll call it available reserves, in an emergency reserve. Fenced reserves are about 2/3 of all of our reserves. So
Correct.
I'm really looking forward to getting something back from FEMA. Page 45, it says cash in county and there's a million. Is that something that county requires us to keep there, or do we make any money off of the money that's there?
Yeah, so we're making approximately 4.5% off of that. It does not sit there for very long. That is essentially the fund in which feeds the majority of our cash flow. So we let it sit at the county and earn interest, and we request disbursements from the county to transfer directly into our checking account for our regular O&M expenses.
So it's like a settlement fund for the tax
That's
rolls?
correct. And so twice a year, there'll be deposits into that, a couple of miscellaneous for party payments and such. But the majority of it gets deposited in December and then we use those, and that's what we essentially pay all of our disbursements for throughout the year, supplemented by pre-planned withdrawals from PFM. And then essentially, historically, we have taken whatever is the overage right about the time when it would be now. Anything remaining in the fund, we calculate what we're going to need until the next tax disbursement. Anything that exceeds
That's 3 or
that
4
amount,
months out now.
correct, would be towards the end of December, probably January, realistically. We would send to PFM and reinvest it. We've already earmarked all of that money to the end of the year, so we won't be sending anything out of this disbursement.
Okay. I have a couple of questions or comments for operations. Page 95, item 1, the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District and the LA Regional Water Quality Control Board visit. Mention of that in staff report. Are they inspecting our operations against some set of written standards? If so, what are they? Or are they just visiting every once in a while?
No, so each visit is for a specific reason, and Bradshaw, he was here, can speak to that a little bit more specifically as someone who met with them, but occasionally once a year, the Air Pollution Control District will come specifically to inspect our fuel tanks They'll come and inspect our diesel heavy equipment, so the tractors, et cetera, to make sure that they're meeting the requirements under the Air Pollution Control District permit that's issued to that site. And then the board will come in do periodic checks against our compliance with our MPD. So there are essentially announced plan visits for specific reasons. And then they essentially
Check the effluent.
and they send a urine compliance for that specific for our files.
Last question, on page 105, right photo and caption says something about tow-in for new levee design clicks with OVSD trunk sewer. Are we looking at a situation where some other agency is endangering our main lines?
No.
What did that mean?
Yeah, so water, well, it all stems from the removal of the Matilaha Dam. And based off the removal of the Matilaha Dam, they've modeled some new flows through the river channel. Because of these new flows that they've modeled, they're thinking about modifying the levee that protects Casita Springs. And that modified levee may interrupt where our current position of our pipeline is. And Liz and staff is working with Watershed in the county to see what we can do to either, how we can mitigate it.
Somebody to put rocks in front of our main line or something?
Now, the ones that we're looking at right now would probably be installing they would be installing a parallel line that would remove, in essence, a portion of our 36-inch line that we have in service now, by clay pipe. So they put a parallel line in and we'd move the alignment so it wouldn't conflict with their new location. That's one of the ideas we have. Another idea we have is perhaps aligning. You could pipe burst the line in a different location. So there's various ideas that are on the table. And at this point, it's preliminary design. We're also working with Casitas at this time. Casitas has a 42-inch line in that same area. And we're just now starting to entertain the conversation of the two utilities, which will weigh in heavily on each other.
Thank you.
We are working through on it.
So I have a couple of questions on the reports. First one, I hate to express my ignorance, but there was a lengthy quarterly report by PMF on our financial investments, and I don't recall seeing one of those before. Are we doing something different with our long-term investments?
No, so that was put in there just because it was timely for the packet. So in full disclosure, it was inserted in the packet. Generally, essentially me as a finance committee to review those, but because the finance committee is actually in active conversation with PFM regarding our investment strategy, and they'll in January with Richard Babbe, our representative, to discuss essentially what the investment strategy potentially will be based on our liquidity needs going forward. And that'll be a continuing conversation of something that occurred. I believe the initial conversation was July.
The report was well written, but there was one sentence that had me a little worried. It said they were letting us know there was no FDIC insurance. Our deposits a concern, or is there some alternate state program that guarantees our?
For savings accounts, not brokerage accounts.
So we don't have insurance then.
What you put in the market might lose.
The federal government doesn't offer any kind of savings accounts for water agencies or sewer districts.
I know of.
I know.
Are insured. Okay, well, like I said at the beginning, I was going to express my ignorance on this, so I learned a little bit here. Like a follow-on question, Scott, for this levy conflict. You know that you said something to the effect that the county would relocate the line. Is that because we have prior rights and prior easements?
I don't know if it's specifically to prior rights or prior easements, but certainly because their project is the cause of us needing to relocate them. So I'd have to look into it for the specific reason.
Like when they change the alignment of a road on a pipeline, we're responsible. That was just a question. At least. See, then I got. Just a question on the stat. We read so much about this TMDL upgrade that we're doing, filters and everything else. It's a great project. When does it actually go into effect? It's already gone.
So it's operational now. So we're using the new filters as we speak. They're slowly metering in microseed, so it's a biological. So it takes time for this microseed to grow and adhere onto the sand filters. So that's when it's going into effect. We have internal, or the regional board has set for us March. As up until March, we can kind of fiddle around with it in essence. And from between March and June, we have supposed to be running steady at that point, and our permit goes into effect. I believe it's June 28th. It could be the 25th, but it's the end of June.
How are the bugs doing so far?
I hear they're doing well, but it's operating, and we're operating within limits.
Far so good. And my last question is, would you make it onto LAFCO board? Hopefully not.
I think to be determined. I think they just did a last call for ballot.
They're still. No counting. Just, you know.
Nothing has been determined as
Yeah, I
of yet.
think December 5th or something. I think that's their cutoff.
I'll be probably the last to know.
I'll be the last.
Depends.
I was just curious. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Any further? On through 11. Okay, and 12 committee report. And report that we did meet in October. We did meet last week. And
Is the ad hoc.
this is the ad hoc committee. First is being made. There'll be some stuff probably come to the board. Maybe in December, but it will probably be January now since the December meeting has moved forward. Not have time to get things prepared.
Is policy changes or?
Reviews and that's all the more. Must have any meetings or seminars or conferences attended? Items of interest. Board member and general manager comment.
I have a apology in October. So you're sorry about that. Then I reminded myself, no, I gotta fill it out.
We'll get through it.
Not the only one. How's it doing?
I need you to fill one out, but I did a temporary one for today so that I could post today because we're running payroll. So we can do the batch, but I'd like you to fill them out just in case I missed anything.
Thank you for fessing up though.
I didn't know if I'd still be a board member. I was just gonna do it all at once if I wasn't.
Anything else from the board on comments? General manager.
I've got a little more free time now.
For a while.
Well, I'm not on the Ojai Planning Commission anymore. I was replaced at the most recent city council meeting.
So who replaced you?
His name is Jonathan Chesley. Good fellow. I've met with him a couple of times. He's an architect and his wife is a landscape architect. They together have a business, a little studio in Ojai, and they've just come here from the East Coast within the last year. So a lot of their clients are still on the East Coast. They're slowly building a business. He's a good fellow. I think he'll be a great addition
Anything else from board members on comments? Scott, do you have anything?
Yeah, I've got a little comments. After your last board meeting, we had an all hands meeting on October 31st. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update on how that all hands meeting went and some follow up on that. So at the meeting, one of the things that we did is we used it as an opportunity to acknowledge accomplishments from the staff. So I'd like to report formally that Liz, Yan, Israel, Alex, Noah, and Dwight, they received their NASCO pipeline condition assessment inspection certifications. That was a three-day class that had tests after it. It was quite an accomplishment. So they're certified for the next couple of years. I also want to note that the treatment plant staff let us know that some of their staff underwent forklift training and they're now certified forklift operators. Israel did one of the things I wanted to do was highlight some accomplishments that the district had gone through. And Israel presented a PowerPoint presentation on the Santa Ana lift station upgrade. It was very well received to the point where we're going to invite him and he's going to come and give the same presentation to your board here. So it was well received.
On vacation, so he wasn't.
Yeah, right. Along the same time, I presented some district news. Some of the news has changed, and one of the news I presented at that time was an update on our recruitment. So we have 4 positions that we're recruiting for: the treatment plant operator 4, the environmental compliance person, the collection system, and an engineering technician. So at that time, the report is now dated, but I'll give you the update of where it is now. So we're looking at conducting interviews for those positions next week. And I suspect we'll probably be onboarding in January and perhaps into February, depending on how everything goes. I also provided an update to the staff on the financials. We're operating within budget. And like you guys all know, we have been obligated to about $1 million from FEMA. And I would expect the earliest that we would see that is in the June to August timeline of 2025. So let staff know about that. Last little things we talked about was equipment. Gap vacs. The report on the gap vacs expected to get delivered here to Ojai probably tomorrow or possibly Wednesday. So we're shooting for one tomorrow so they don't get wrapped up into Thanksgiving traffic. It's going to come in. We'll put it in the barn, and they're going to let us keep our old vac truck for 30 days so they can move equipment over to it, make the transition. Crews can try it out, and we're not down. That's one. Last little thing I talked about were vehicles. I heard you guys loud and clear from our last meeting on vehicles, and I kind of want to not talk about vehicles, but talk about more of a philosophy. So I did some research, and I see that the district does have a policy when it comes to vehicles. I think the policy is not specific, and I don't think it needs to be. There's some room for interpretation in there. My point is, when it comes to vehicles, they're kind of a long-term item. You can use them, I would say, on the short side. 3 years would be very short, and we have some vehicles that are a dozen years old. And where I'm going with the whole thing is, I think for the district to get recommendations from a general manager on vehicles, it probably needs to be the permanent general manager. So I didn't feel that it was proper for me as an interim general manager to give really my philosophy on the interpretation of the vehicles. So I want to be very forthright, and that's why that is not in the agenda item. Okay. Along those same lines, when we have the staff recruitments and retention, we're just now starting the recruitment process, right? We're in the second stage, we're in interviews. After these interviews, we're going to go on with onboarding. There's going to be some selections first, then onboarding, and then coaching. And again, it's going to require inspiration or something from the management. I think it's important that the board understand that this, again, it's much like the vehicles, is the expectation is those staff are here for decades, if not further. And another thing that kind of comes up is retention. So I do know that the staff is very, very, very happy with the compensation they were given. I also know that people like to be recognized. And one of the ways that an agency or a district can recognize people is recognizing their time on the job and their time away from their family. And I have been what would be my philosophy on alternate work schedules, whether it would be a 980 or a 4-day-a-week work schedule. And much like the vehicles, I think that is the time horizon on that is on the tune of decades. And it's probably not a choice for or interim general manager to make or to even recommend. That's the end of my comments on those, but I just wanted to give you guys an idea of kind of philosophically where I'm at, where I think the district could go. I think it's important for a permanent general manager to start to make those recommendations.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Anything else? With that, I think we're going to move on to item 8, closed session.
Jack arrived.
Jack is not arrived.
If not around.
Still invited, but not here.
Because I would like to have Scott, then you.
I got it.
Very nice to meet you. I know, our kids went to school together. How fun are you?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the clerk job.
Yes, I recognize it.
I'll make a few changes.
Appreciate it. I mean,
Well,
I'll just follow them.
We're back live.
Okay, we're out of closed session and reportable action that came out of the closed session is that the board of directors decided offer permanent employment as general manager to Scott Mextroff, subject to pre-employment conditions. The votes of the board were unanimous with the caveat that Director Curtis is absent today.
Was it 7:07? Back in the- With that, we will adjourn at 7:08.
Congratulations.